in my phone.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino. Yourself, Ryan. You're just a part of the Kings court.
I acknowledge every single one of you, even you, Haunted Horse, in the chat, stirring the pot, as you always do, for being here, for riding with us through 83 games this season. What I call the busiest 24 hours in basketball is the 24 hours after a team is bounced for the season. You immediately have exit interviews and you've got so many more questions than answers. And Sacramento last night got some pretty quick answers, it seems to be leaking out now with the GM, and we'll talk more about that. But running on fumes here, nonetheless, I'm here with you. Thank you for being with me on the Kings court. Don't know how long we're going to go today. We have audio of all of the different exit interviews. We're going to go through them one by one as the weeks go along, because I think there's going to be stuff to pick apart or stuff we can pull from. We'll go over some of the highlights of them today. If there's somebody that you want to hear in particular, we can hit that as well. Last night, look, it's not what you wanted if you were a Kings fan, but it was necessary. It was necessary. It had to happen. It's like one of those growing experiences. Now, that's where you stop me. You're like, Rhino, it's not a growing experience. We're on the same merry-go-round with this owner and this behavior. Maybe we are. Maybe we're not. What's going to be the future of Doug Christie? That's still up in the air. Last night was a fluid night. And by the way, a marathon of a post-game show. If you did not go and see that, or if you're not part of that, go check that out. A lot of good calls. We were getting a lot of reports as the show went on, and news was a break-in as it has the rest of this afternoon. So today, let's gather. Let's try to pull the pieces together of what we know, what we think might happen, something very clear out of the exit interviews from every player on this team. We need a point guard. We need a point guard. So you wonder where the focus is going to be in the offseason. Heck, it is day one of the offseason. We're here for it. Let's get at it. Court's in session on a Thursday.
Late nights on the screen, hey, it's Grant and Ryan. We bleed purple, talking hoops, never lying. Sacramento Kings, we rise and we fall. If you don't like that, then you don't know ball. Jerry sitting with the stories of the game, spilling all the truth, driving legends insane. From the Cow Palace days to Arco's roar, this town's heart beats on the hardwood floor. If you like that, turn away now.
And many of you did turn away last night. Second quarter of that basketball game, 44-19. Something we had talked about all season, even after Doug Christie took over, was execution out of timeouts. The Kings end the first quarter up 2 points, 29-27. And this is how they start the second quarter. Turnover, miss two. Turnover, missed three. That is all while Anthony Davis was on the bench. That is where the Mavs run began. From there, Klay Thompson makes up for last year's play-in and goes absolutely nuts. And really, the game was out of reach. A play-in game, a playoff game, you can't be outscored 44-19. You're just not coming back from that. And so there's a lot we can pull from the game. We can talk as much as you want about the game. There's obviously a lot of news going on. There's still a lot of decisions to be made. We can get into those. One good piece of news that I want to hit really quick. Go Stockton! Mason Jones, G League, all G League, second team. Well deserved for Mace. IJ, Isaac Jones, third team. So there is a good highlight from today that we can pull from this Stockton team. And really, the highlight of the Kings season, probably.
Go Stockton!
Talk about the tale of two seasons. You've got Go Stockton!
Go Stockton!
And then you've got the Kings. Is that the Kings season summarized? I mean, I'm trying to make you laugh here. Being a little goofy on a Thursday. He was the man of the hour. It was too much. The Kings never adjusted. In fact, Doug Christie's first adjustment came at the 9:57 mark. The first visible adjustment that I noticed came at the 9:57 mark of the fourth quarter when he inserted Doug McDermott into the lineup. Jonas Valanciunas played 10 minutes. Keon Ellis, foul trouble. Not 44 seconds into the third quarter. Already had his fourth foul. Just a lack of adjustment, a lack of effort. If you were at that game, I saw people online, like legit, like hardcore Kings fans, that were like, we deserve refunds. Now, that's a little bit over the top. You don't deserve refunds. You knew what you were getting yourself into by going to a Kings game. Also, this was kind of funny. You know how we talk about voicemails that we get on the Kings court? How fitting is this voicemail? Pretty basic, pretty straight to it. Might even be a sound drop going forward. This was left.
I don't even know what the heck it was about.
I don't even know what the heck that was about. He couldn't have summed it up better last night. Well done, dude. You nailed it. Why am I even doing this show right now? Yes, we will get to the GM news. Yes, we will talk about Doug Christie's future. We will also get into the exit interviews. But as always, want to get you involved in the show. We put your calls first, and we'll get to your comments as well. Let's go. No way. Who is that? Is that who I think it is? Kings Court, what's up? You there? Not there. It looked like a friend's name, but it was misspelled. But that friend, I could see him misspelling that name. So anyways, all right, let's get to the chat. You guys are all up in here contributing, and I am not paying attention. So what you got to say? I'm going to read the newest to the last. Aaron, what's the deal with the yeet sound bit last night during the interviews? Just curious. What was it for? So the yeet was for the comments, like people putting their predictions in for the scores. And if it was in favor of the Kings, it was a yeet. That's what it was. We play around with sound drops around here on the Kings court. DC had some odd comments post game. Something about a rabbit with a gun. Yeah. You know, he sounded pretty emboldened. He sounded pretty dang bold. Like, this is going to be my job. He tried to make a case for it. Flu-like symptoms? No, John. Just tired. Going on about 3 hours of sleep right now. Let's see. Charles, you're talking to Riley. Vivek is trolling everybody. What will it take for y'all to stop giving him your money? Well, Simon, is Vivek trolling you and still getting over on you? Because here's a discussion that I had with somebody last night after the game that's plugged in to the situation. Said, okay, what if you run this whole thing back? Not roster-wise, but Vivek goes back into the Rolodex that we talk about and brings back a familiar face, right? Somebody that's a yes man, somebody that has worked with Vivek before, right? Isn't that going to trigger the fan base to be upset? What's the fan base's recourse? Not going to games, not supporting the team, all right? Well, what's the counter to that? What does everybody that's a Sacramento Kings fan usually live in? It's the past. It's 2000. It's 2001. It's 2002. It was those good times. How many old Sacramento Kings during that era do you see on TV right now? Do you see sitting courtside? You see them all the time. So theoretically, if you put Doug Christie in that chair, half of this fan base is still going to be happy. They're not going to be happy about what Vivek's doing, but they're still going to support the team because that's Doug Christie as the head coach. It reminds them of the old days. And granted, I give credit to Doug for what he did this season. Now, two things can be true at once. I give him credit for what he did, but I also maintain he is not ready. Last night exposed him as a head coach. He was thoroughly outcoached by Jason Kidd. I don't expect Doug Christie to be on Jason Kidd's level as a head coach. However, I do expect any coach that's on an NBA bench, even if it's on an interim basis, to know how to understand a game, to make adjustments. There were hardly any adjustments visible to my eye, and I consider myself pretty well versed in Sacramento Kings basketball. I don't remember seeing a lot of zone defense last night. The offense, what did we talk about? If it comes down to a DeRozan pace, and I hate to hammer on DeMar, he played his heart out last night. But it was a DeRozan pace. The Kings were as basic gets. Did the Mavs even need to scout the Kings to stop them? They had them figured out like that. No adjustments. Just confused looks. So if you're going to retain Doug Christie as the coach of this team, you got to do something along the lines of what the Clippers did. Now, different situation. Tyronn Lue is way more well-versed and a better head coach than Doug Christie. But who's sitting next to him? It's Jeff Van Gundy. Jeff Van Gundy, tenured, knows the game, coached at a high level, coached in big markets. He is sitting right next to Tyronn Lue, and he has had a huge influence on their defense, the Clippers. Massive influence on the Clippers defense. It might be the reason the Clippers make a run this postseason. You have got to sit somebody right like that right next to Doug. If Doug's going to be in that first seat, you better have a vet next to him. You better have the yin to Doug's yang. Doug's yin is getting the team hyped up. It's energy. It's inspiration. Doug's idea of how to play basketball. He gets Sacramento, but then you also have to execute too. Those two things can't be mutually exclusive. You've got to meet in the middle with those. You got to find that middle part of the Venn diagram. So will Doug stay? Will he not stay? We'll get into it. We will also get into Scott Perry, who has been with the Kings organization before. My man, Kevin John, he was at the game last night for News 10. He tried to paint a little bit of a broader picture of the season and what has transpired, reminding all the fans, yeah, you deserved a better effort last night, but you also got to remember this. Speaking of yin and yang, here's my man, KJ.
Got to be honest with you guys. I get it. On a night like tonight, it's easy to criticize the Kings, condemn some of the decisions they made throughout the last couple of months, and for lack of better words, just make fun of the franchise for what they've become. But you know what? I'm not going to do that tonight because it's important to realize what this team has gone through, especially over the last few months. This was a team who back in December lost their head coach by way of firing and Mike Brown. And then a couple of months later, they lose their franchise player by way of trading to the San Antonio Spurs. They then acquire a few new teammates. Interim head coach Doug Christie steps in there. He does as good as he can. And then you throw in the injuries from Malik Monk and Jake LaRavia. There was so much adversity for this team this year. But still, I'm not excusing what happened in here tonight. It was unacceptable.
Nailed it. I'm good with that. Any of you pushing back at him online, what's wrong with you? He is painting the complete picture. He's telling a story. Thought it was well said. By the way, G-Man coming back for another season next year. Well, Rock, that is where this becomes complicated. Why are you going to call Jeff Petrie? You got a GM, Scott Perry. And by the way, we haven't even mentioned Monte McNair's name yet. We haven't even opened that can of worms. Like, as soon as the final buzzer hit, Monte, gone. Anybody surprised? Also, a member of the Kings coaching staff headed to FSU to coach with Luke Laux. DeMar DeRozan said this has been the most, and I'm paraphrasing, difficult season of his career. This thing was, again, we said a roller coaster ride. I don't even think that is doing it justice. And we're starting to kind of get the little crumbs that are trickling out. And we will continue to learn more as the days go along. I see a lot of questions about Coach Christie. Yes, he was out coached. I see a lot of questions about whether or not he has the relationships to bring in that coach. A lot of questions about, is Doug going to be retained? I know Sam Amick has put some stuff out there. I will say, I will go on the record based off of what I've heard. I think it is more likely than unlikely that Doug Christie returns for another season. Let me repeat that. This is my personal opinion. I think it is more likely than unlikely that Doug Christie will return for another season as the head coach of the Kings. That's my opinion. I am going off of taking everything that I know about this team, this owner, what happened, Doug's record. I think you need to brace yourself for that. And whether you are for that or against that, that's your call. But that is what I think is going to be coming down the pipeline. And I think that's right along the same lines as what Sam is saying as well. Remember, Sam broke the news about Monte McNair. And by the way, did Monte McNair, I asked this to Grant, did Monte McNair get over on Vivek by mutually parting ways? I know it's you're playing semantics, but does it matter? I kind of think it does. Because, like, saying the worst owner in basketball, by the way, check this out. I was doing prep for the show. I sat down at my desk. And I was here a little bit early, so I saw some of your comments, Haunted Horse. And I had Around the Horn playing in the background on my iPad. The guy that won Around the Horn today on ESPN used his FaceTime to address Vivek Ranadive.
Look, Vivek Ranadive, if it weren't for him, the Sacramento Kings would be the Seattle Supersonics right now. I think every Kings fan in Sacramento is grateful for that. But ever since he bought the team, it has been a series of blunders and faux pas. From interrupting film sessions to suggest the team cherry pick like his daughter's AAU squad to ostracizing his two best players. But I think it's more indentured servitude than... Whoa! He went back to the...
Did you catch the last end of that? Did you catch the last part of that? Let me replay it because I want to get your take on it because y'all are Sacramento Kings fans. Listen to what he had to say.
I think it's more indentured servitude than... Whoa! He went back to the...
More indentured servitude than fan support? Whew, that's a hot take. Beholden to Vivek. Interesting. Yeah, sure. Let's go. Let's go, Stockton.
Go Stockton!
All right. So what do y'all want to talk about? I have some things that I want to hit. Certainly the news. And by the way, how does it hit you that the GM was already lined up, presumably, before Monte McNair was fired? Not that that's completely irregular, but does that matter to you that this quickly you already have the name out there who has already been with the Kings organization? If you don't know, Scott Perry was with the Kings. He's vice president of basketball operations in 2017. So on April 21st, 2017, he was hired by the Kings. 3 months later, July 14th, he became the general manager of the Knicks. He was the GM through 2023 of the Knicks, and then his contract was not renewed. I found this interesting because I don't know a lot about him, but here's what Sean Cunningham, because Sean was one of the first ones that I saw to report it this morning. He said, and perhaps the greatest skill that Scott Perry possessed during those 3 months with Sacramento previously was his working relationship with Kings owner and chairman, Vivek Ranadive. Do you take that as a good thing or a bad thing? Last night we talked about if you're going to have a yes man in, and I'm not saying Scott Perry because I don't know him. I don't know his body of work. Not saying that Scott Perry is a yes man, but I did say if it is going to be somebody like that, you got to know how to play the game with Vivek, at least. So maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a bad thing. Not completely sure. Like you would know. Bad thing. Expert of all things basketball. Haunted horse. Getting tons of run today, by the way. My man. All right, let's go back to the phones. We also have audio of exit interviews coming up. Love talking to this guy. Hey, what's going on today, buddy?
Here right now, I'm just relishing the championship of Stockton Kings to wash away my depression with the Kings last night. They play on ESPN and they completely embarrass themselves. Stephen A. Smith, Jalen Rose, Tim Legler all roasted the Kings last night for lack of their effort. And this is the type of games where we continuously get mocked by the nation. So what an embarrassing effort last night. Moving on past that, Scott Perry. So seems like he was the GM of the Knicks from 2017 to 2023.
Yeah.
I don't follow the Knicks very closely, but weren't the Knicks pretty bad? During those 6 years. I don't know how many times they made the playoffs, but to my knowledge, they weren't that good during those years, right?
Off the top of my head, Patrick, if you're in the house, let us in. Off the top of my head, I don't remember, but it seems like the Knicks turnaround started when they got Jalen Brunson, which would have been right around that time. It was a couple of off seasons ago when Dallas let him walk. So it's fringe right there, whether Scott Perry was starting that process to turn it around, but certainly not in 2017. I don't remember the Knicks being very good.
Yeah, so I mean, again, I'm not really sure of what his accomplishments are. And to your point, it may have been towards his end of his tenure when they brought in Brunson, and obviously he wasn't there when they made the Towns trade and the Mikal Bridges trade. So not sure what type of, again, accolades that he has that convinced Vivek besides the quote unquote relationship that they have. So this signing doesn't really excite me very much. I mean, on his resume, they say he has over 20 years of executive experience, blah, blah, blah. But just not really sure if he is going to, be an answer or a qualified GM to that matter of fact that knows the X's and O's and
So
has a plan to fix this mess.
Thumper was going to bring up exactly what I was going to bring up. Something that stuck out to me. We know, the Alvin Gentry connection still in the franchise. Vivek heavily leans on him. You remember the Joe Dumars connections, right?
Yeah.
Joe Dumars actually gave Perry his front office executive role in Detroit in 2000. So, yeah, Detroit was good. Perry assisted in building a roster that went to 6 Eastern Conference Finals appearances, 2003 to 2008, 2 Eastern Conference championships, 2004, 2005, and an NBA championship in 2004. So it seems like he has been around winning. He's been part of winning. Obviously, the Knicks poached him from the Kings 3 months into his tenure here. But then my little whatever it is, my radar goes up that it's within this circle, right? He's connected to Dumars, and Dumars is connected to Vivek. Like it's like this. I don't want to call him like a mob, but like there has to be connections somehow.
Right.
It's where is somebody unconnected? Where's the fresh set of eyes that hasn't been here? That I have trouble with. And the fact that it doesn't appear the Kings interviewed anyone. How would they have time to have interviewed anybody? I mean, this was in motion well before the end of the season.
Yeah, I would have hoped that Vivek does a thorough search, goes through interview process, but apparently this decision was made, very quickly. So maybe the search began a couple months back, or he didn't even put in an effort, and it was just
Well, if you're
move based on the relationships.
if
But
you're searching for a new GM while you have a GM, that is inherently a problem. I mean, that's just it speaks to it's just another piece of the puzzle that makes sense about Wes Wilcox walking away. We assumed that Wes leaving was jumping ship early because Monty would likely be gone. And who's to say Monty wanted to stay? And that's why I think the whole titling of mutually decided to part ways is important there. So, look, Perry might be great. We don't know. He might be awesome, and he might have some great ideas for this team. But inherently, I'm gonna go back to the worry, Tay. He's got the connections to the Vivek mob or whatever the hell you want to call him. He's got the connections to the Vivek henchmen. I wish I had a sound drop of Briscoe and Patterson back in WWE in the 90s. Mr. McMahon. Like it just kind of feels just a little bit off. So
Yeah, and Monty may have had great ideas, and more reports are coming out that Monty didn't want to, fire Brown, didn't want to trade Fox, but he felt pressured to. So, Monty may have done a lot better if he didn't have Vivek breathing down his neck, and Perry might be qualified too. But if he's not gonna have the full autonomy, then this is going to be another repetitive cycle of underperforming year after year.
well, if he has a close, and I would love, I know Sean and I aren't like friends and we don't have each other's phone numbers, but if we see each other, we talk. I would love to ask Sean to expand
Sure.
on that tweet and get an idea of, was that a good working relationship? Was that a good, like, keeping Vivek at arm's distance relationship? Because that's what's really most important. I mean, for all intents and purposes, if he is a guy that is, buddy buddy with the owner, then your owner is your GM. That's all I have to say. And really, your owner was your GM this year. Your owner decided, or Angeli, or a combination of them all, decided to fire Mike Brown. Your owner decided to trade for Zach LaVine and send Fox where he wanted. Those weren't money moves. They weren't. So what's to say this whole thing is not going to keep repeating itself? And if you're Domantas Sabonis, what are you thinking right now? Like, who do you believe? Because seriously, if I'm Domantas Sabonis and I'm looking at the situation, Tay, it's like, oh, okay, well, he worked here before. Oh, he's connected to Dumars, has a good relationship with Vivek. Well, it sounds like this is going to be the same pot of chili that we've had the last 2 years. I don't have any reason to believe there's going to be a different direction. And I guess we have to give it time and wait for more information to come out.
Yep, agreed.
Appreciate you. Anything else? Tay dropped off. What you're looking at, by the way, is year-over-year stats for last year and this year. See how the Kings did. We are talking about last night. We were talking about the changes to the organization. One guy today said something that really, really caught my ear. It was Malik Monk. He was very candid, as he always is. And I told you one of the themes of a lot of the exit interviews from the core of this team was this team needs a point guard. We were being asked to play many different positions, wear many different hats. It was a very clear theme. But then there was something that Malik said that really made my ears go up like a French bulldog. My ears aren't that big. Here's Malik's exit interview.
First one, obviously, the end of the season didn't go the way you wanted to, being hurt and things like that. But you average more points, rebounds, assists than you have at any point in your career. For you personally, the development of your game, how do you feel that went this year for you?
Like you said, I average career highs in points, rebounds, assists, minutes played. So that's a plus for me. I feel like I get better every year. And I just got to stay healthy.
Yeah. And obviously, when you signed your contract last offseason, things looked a lot different here. Different GM, different head coach. Fox was here. Is this the place you still want to be, or are you having to evaluate this?
I'm all in. Yeah, no questions. Don't question that.
Malik.
Interesting use of words. Remember this? Remember what Mike Brown had the team sign 2 years in a row? The all-in banner? Was there anything more to the use of those words? There was a lot made during the season about some guys did not want Mike Brown gone and others did. Is Malik telling us something more? All in is a commonly used phrase, but all in was like a big thing in that building during the Mike Brown era. So I wonder if that was a shot back or a shot to Mike Brown. Malik Monk continues.
Second straight year, man, that you were ended the season on an injury report, not able to play in that play. Just frustration-wise, that you weren't able to play those last 2 games for play-ins.
Yeah, it's terrible to end the season on the bench, not helping your team, especially when you know you can. So yeah, it's tough to watch that, man. But some bright future for us, I feel like, especially with the down year we had this year. I feel like it only can go up. This year been crazy. So yeah, I'm looking forward to next year.
I would say you joke with us all the time that you've been through a lot in this league. Have you seen
Not shit like this?
No.
Nothing at all. Yeah, I haven't seen anything like this before.
How about that? How's that hit you? Haven't seen anything like this before, and he's been in this organization. This is his 3rd year.
Malik, when you talk about that, what this year's been like, describe the past 24 hours as well, and when you tack on that to, of course, the year.
That just explains the year for us. That explains it well for us. But it's the business we in. You got to live the next.
Are you insane? I'm sorry. That wasn't nice of me. You're not serious, right? All Sabonis cares about is stats in Netflix series? Not concerned much about winning? Unlike DeMar? I get it. It's a joke, right? That's a good one. You don't really mean that, right? Like, come on. Even Kawhi thinks that's pretty funny. You can't be serious. That might be the single, and let's leave the DeMar part of it out of it. This might be the most inaccurate comment, and I appreciate you watching, Mega. I do. But you are so far off base. So far off base. Are you kidding me? Man, we've got all off season to talk about it. I've talked about it on this channel before. Domantas Sabonis is such a different dude. You know why he's a different dude? He's a different dude because he plays with an insecurity. An actual good insecurity. You know what that insecurity is? He doesn't take his spot in the NBA for granted. He doesn't see himself as a $47 million a year person. He is fueled internally to work harder because he doesn't want somebody to take his spot. He's grateful for what he has, but he wants more. If there has been one thing that has been consistent and stable over the last 3.5 years, it has been Domantas Sabonis. All about the stats? Was he thinking about his stats when he came back 1 game after an avulsion fracture and played the rest of the season through it? You realize Fox was here for 6.5 years without making the playoffs? 7.5 years, whatever it was. Sabonis was here for 1.5 years, and the Kings break the playoff drought? That's unbelievable. You don't know what you're talking about. You have... I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. If Sabonis had a problem, let's hypothetically say that Sabonis was one of those two players left in the Kings locker room that wanted Mike Brown fired. Did it ever show in his play? Not once. You can knock him for his turnovers. You can knock him for his shooting, decision-making. You can't knock him for freaking bringing it every single night and getting battered. You know, you can't say the same thing about De'Aaron Fox. If De'Aaron Fox had a problem with something, a lot of times it reflected in his play. That is crazy. Really threw me off there. McLean, welcome in.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Oh, well, frustrated like a lot of people.
Sure.
I just have a question, and I'd like to end my statement with a question.
Sure.
It appears, with Sam Amick's column coming out, I'm now an apologist to Monte McNair, because if you take a look at the beginning of his tenure, he drafted Tyree. He drafts Halliburton. That was a great move. He got Keegan Murray. He really built the team up. Where things look sour is after they make the playoffs, it seems as if there might have been some internal conflict between him and ownership, where one person says, hey, we need to add, and the other doesn't want to because they don't want to go on luxury tax, and they stay put. And I wonder, and I want to know what you think, because I know that, the past couple of weeks, you and Grant have said Monty kind of has to go.
Yeah.
Should we be more apologetic to Monty and say, hey, he actually did a good job, given the circumstances and the environment and the boss that he has, and in the end, he only has so much power type thing. And in my opinion, I think he's going to be a GM again, because he's going to be able to say, look, this was a circus. These are the cards I had to deal with. And so be it. And I think he comes out looking better, looking really good. And that's just me. What are your thoughts? Are you kind of more sympathetic to him or no?
You know what? It is a great question. It's an awesome question. And it's why I kind of teased the fact that it was a mutual parting of the ways rather than a firing. And to your point about Monty being a GM again, there's some reports out there that, Houston might be interested in bringing him in some capacity, etc. That's where he came from, by the way. I'm going to listen to I'm going to play a few more minutes of Malik Monk, and I'm going to respond to that a little bit more in long form, because I think you bring up an excellent topic. So good job by you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Appreciate you. Good job, McLean.
Bye.
First time I think I've heard from McLean. McLean, call back, man. You're on it. Back to Malik Monk really quick.
Next day and the next day and the next day after that, and try to be better. And I feel like that's what we're going to do.
You mentioned feeling like there's a bright future with this team. Just from your perspective, where do you sort of see that?
Better than this.
Fair enough.
Malik, a couple questions for you. First one, take me back to 2 years ago and being team one. What about that time do you think this organization or team needs to recapture and bring into next season?
That's a lot that played into the big team one. There was a lot of people hurt in the West. A lot of teams was hurt. We were new. They didn't know what we were doing. So I really can't pinpoint what we need to do. Obviously, it's win more games. But yeah, I just feel like we got to come out here with pride every night, especially in front of this home crowd. And I'm going to do my best to preach that.
And in addition to all the changes the organization went through, you yourself from 6-man to starting to point guard responsibilities, just walk me through all the changes to your game and your role that you had to go through. And do you think there is a ideal role for you out of those three?
That's a good question. 4. I went back to the bench when I came back too, man. It had to be 4 different players this year. But I wasn't complaining. It was the hand I was dealt. So I was just doing what needed to be done. And yeah, I don't know what role I'll play next year. I felt more comfortable starting at the 2. That was I felt like I was flooring then. I love that role. But it's whoever the next coach is, whether it's DC or somebody else, whatever they want me to do. I'm gonna be 100% in with that.
Malik, this is the second summer you're going into injured. Just where are you at health-wise? How long do you think it's going to take you to get back to a full program?
Yeah, it was nothing like last year. This was a little slight. I feel like I'm probably about another two weeks out from going full.
I really thought I was going to be sympathetic today. Like I did not think that we were going here, but my man, Haunted Horse, welcome to the penalty box.
Florida, number 12, has 2 minutes for roughing, and then every player on the ice has a 10-minute misconduct. Florida will have a 2-minute power play.
And I don't remember the last.
You sit in that penalty box right now, Horse. And you think about what you just put in the chat to all of these loyal Kings fans. Like, Horse is the kind of dude that you invite him over to your house. He takes a look around. He asks, like, oh, you got a couple of recliners. Which one do you sit in? That one. He sits in it. The dog's at his feet. Doesn't like it. He kicks it. You're making him dinner, and then he comes outside. He opens your barbecue, starts taking the tongs, poking around the tri-tip, grabbing food with his hands, using the fork that he's using to eat to grab sides. Like, that's who Haunted Horse, that's what you just did to Kings fans, my man. Come on, Horse. You got to do better than that. Moss, I'm coming to you in a second. I want to talk to you. Looking forward to that conversation. I want to answer to the Monty the question, though, first. Because I think it is a great one. Yes, I think that you do have to look at what Monty was able to do under the constraints in which he was doing his job. But that being said, it's not like it was a secret that Vivek Ranadive is a difficult owner to work with, that he meddles, that he is going to go above you. He's going to go to other people that are outside of the organization and ask them questions that he should be asking his own GM. He's going to overrule you at some point. And we're not going to know the details exactly unless Monty comes out and does a tell-all or goes on the record with somebody and says, yeah, that was his decision. That was his decision. I think that as Kings fans being through this now, since Vivek has been owner, we have a pretty good compass engaging where things lie kind of in the middle. Monte McNair's biggest mistake in Sacramento, I'm gonna equate it. I'm gonna give you a gambling example. Monte McNair's biggest mistake was he was playing blackjack. This is how I feel he ran his front office. If he was playing blackjack and he had 20 and the dealer is showing an ace and they offer insurance, Monty took the insurance. He didn't take enough risks It wasn't so much the moves that Monty made, whereas it was the moves that Monty didn't make. And I'm not talking about major moves. I'm talking about fringe moves. We can debate this obsession, which clearly is an obsession with either this owner, analytics, maybe it was Monty, of we don't need a point guard. It's clear as day, something was telling them, you do not need to have a true point guard on this roster. Devin Carter gets drafted. Davion Mitchell gets drafted. You bring in guys that aren't point guards, but aren't two guards. And where I go back to with all that, besides the analytics, is somebody had a strong belief that everything could always function through Sabonis. That's the only logical basketball explanation that I can come up with to justify the Kings never addressing the point guard position, and in fact, doubling down, using high draft picks to not get point guards, but not get two guards. The trade deadline, well, let's go back, actually. Let's go back to the offseason of the Beam Team year. Kings just got bounced in 7 games. The Kings had some money to play with. Malik just acknowledged that there were a lot of injuries that year. And by the way, the Kings were far and away the healthiest team in the NBA that year. It wasn't even close. The next closest team, I think they had 125 games missed by starters. The Kings were like 27. That's how far and away the Kings were healthy compared to the rest of the NBA. So that was not taken into account properly, and the decision was this team was good enough to run it back. And instead of using some of that money to improve on the fringes, you extended Sabonis. Something that I know Sabonis's camp asked for, but it wasn't necessary at that time. It wasn't. Sabonis wasn't going to leave Sacramento. He's always played in small markets. He loved it here. Loves Napa. It was a great fit. You didn't need to extend him when you did, but the Kings did. And that's really where most of that money went. Now, here's the other thing about the Beam Team year. Usually your GM and coach are working in lockstep, hand in hand. When Mike Brown was hired, Mike Brown sat at his press conference and said, defense, 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 defense. And what ended up happening? An offensive explosion that I don't think Monty, Vivek, Mike, Vegas, anybody saw coming. And there was very little consideration given to the fact that that was built mostly on offense and three-point shooting. Something at that time everybody in the league was doing. The Kings just happened to do it better that year. Best offensive rating up until that time of all time. So now you don't really have a clear path. Are we sticking to the offense? Are we sticking to the defense? And you get stuck in the middle. And so was there a separation? Was there a difference in opinion on identity, on how to build this thing between Mike Brown and Monte McNair, and between Vivek Ranadive? So from that point forward, this team never had an identity, or at least a positive identity. And you can't tell me it was three-point shooting, because every team in the NBA is a three-point shooting team. Now, the trade deadline of the 23-24 season, the Kings were ahead of the Mavericks. Or excuse me, ahead of the Lakers. Oh, no. You know what? I am totally misspeaking. The trade deadline of the Beam Team year, the Lakers were behind the Kings. The Lakers make a couple of moves. They don't give up much. They end up in the conference finals, okay? Fast forward to 23-24, trade deadline. You're seeing that the Kings are kind of falling behind pace. Still doing good, but not on the same pace as the year before. The Dallas Mavericks are behind you in the standings at the trade deadline. What does Dallas do? They go make a couple of moves, small moves. At most gave up a first-round pick. Where do they end up? The NBA Finals. So Monty had put himself into a corner this summer where this team had to get dramatically better. Dramatically. So you retain Monk. That was a big deal. Good job by all involved. But you get DeMar DeRozan. Okay. Is it a great fit? We'll see. Good guy. One of the biggest quote unquote free agent signings, even though it wasn't really a free agent signing in Sacramento. Okay. So Monty made some moves. He did well. And one thing that Monty always stuck to that I will respect him for, and this is why the Zach LaVine trade was so out of character, and I personally believe it came from above, is because during Monty's tenure, he never, ever was willing to take on a bad contract. Every contract on the books was close to its market value, meaning if you needed to get off a player, you could probably get off a player. You could swerve. You could change lanes if you needed to. You weren't pot committed. And then this trade deadline. That changes. You take on the LaVine contract. And we are where we are now. There are some good, very good individual pieces to this team, but they are all pieces that do not go together. It would be like if I said, I'm going to have you over for dinner. I'm going to make you dinner. I've got a Bennett steak for you. I've got sushi. Well, I guess sushi and steak go good. You get what I'm trying to say. Three completely different things that don't mesh well together. You need other parts to pull them together. And the Kings just never found that. So does Monty deserve some grace? In my book, yes. But he also, I believe, was too trigger shy. I don't think he did not make enough moves in the fringes. And in the fringes is what, up until this newest CBA that went into effect this last summer, that was how teams were getting better. Now it's a completely different story with the new CBA, and we can go through that. I want to get to my man, Mr. Moss. He has been waiting. He is very well versed in Monte McNair. He is a Rockets fan. What's up, man? How you doing, brother?
How you doing, man?
Great.
I really want to hone in on your last point there, because I think that was just an awesome point. Very disappointing, the way the Kings season ended. Everything on the line, and you go out and you do that. Disappointing, right? Dallas is tough. They rebound, they're feisty, they're big, they're physical. I knew that, Sabonis has a tough time going against physical bigs. He just does. He gets pounded. I go back to the Looney with the Warrior series 2 years ago, and Looney just crushed him. But what you just said, it resonated, Rhino, because you're right. Too many teams have major entrees. I'm using food analogy like you just did.
Yeah.
They got major entrees, right? You got your steaks, you got your ribeyes, you got your ribs and stuff, and pot roast and things of that nature. But you don't have your broccoli, you don't have your mashed potatoes or your rice pilaf. You look at teams like OKC, you look at teams like, I'll throw Cleveland in there, I'll throw the Rockets in there, right? They're not so much top heavy. Yeah, I mean they're top heavy to a certain degree, but sometimes these GMs need to worry about who's the best fit and not the name on the back of their jersey. And I just think that we sometimes we get away from basketball and what works, right?
Yep.
Trying to plug in 3 elite players or 2 or whatever they're trying to do, that recipe doesn't work, right?
Yep.
It can only take you so far, right? Because last time I checked last night, Dallas didn't have Kyrie Irving. It was AD and a bunch of side dishes. But the Kings had 2 main entrees, quote unquote, DeMar and Zach. And you can throw in Sabonis as a third, right? And there's just not enough pieces around, right? I would rather Monte not go get a Zach, but go get 2 or 3 guys that just complement what you have. And so, and you made a great point too. I think that move was out of his hands. I think he was told to do that.
Yep.
Again, I'm taking a guess there. I don't know for sure, but if I was a betting man, I would think that that was the case. I don't know where a team goes from here. I just don't. The Zach LaVine's contract. DeMar is a very good player. He puts up numbers, but the question has to be asked: is it impactful? I don't know. And then before we get to my Rockets, if it's okay,
of course,
you're right, man. Like that Sabonis and that point guard and that dribble handoff, DHO, and like that's good for sometimes to call the play in a good set. It's a good set. But when you're winning that set consistently, this is the National Association. Teams adjust. And so let's get back to traditional basketball, right? Me personally, I don't want my big dictating offense like that consistently throughout a game. I don't like that, right? I'm more of a traditional basketball guy. If anything, Sabonis, get your butt down low and, try to have go develop a right hand, right?
Yeah.
How about you go do that? And so, yeah, they're in trouble, man. The Kings put themselves in a position where it's going to be hard to overcome. It just is. So
they're
we'll
in absolute no man's.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? How are you? How's the dogs?
Who?
My sister. Because she.
Oh, Rhino's he's saying hi to you.
Oh,
Rhino.
hi.
Okay, give me my 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, we're going to Vegas tonight for 4 days, and she was asking, do we want to rent a car?
Are you going to
It's
WrestleMania?
okay. It's okay. But
Are you
go
going
ahead,
to
buddy. My bad, Rhino. Sorry about that.
Are you going to WrestleMania?
I'm not going to that.
It's
But I know it's
WrestleMania.
out there though.
Yeah, it's WrestleMania weekend in Vegas. That's funny.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I know. That's crazy.
No, to what you said, spot on. The Kings are in no man's land. Especially with that Levine contract. There was one other thing I was going to respond to, and then I got caught up thinking about your dogs because you got like the coolest dogs ever.
Thank you.
Anyways, go ahead with Rockets if it comes to me.
Yeah, let me just. I won't keep you long. I've been looking at tickets all day long. Game 3 and 4, and it's not going to happen. There's too much. There's just too much, and they're so pricey. And I'll just watch it at home. I was so excited about going out there and doing that whole thing. And I would go to the Oracle Rhino and go to the Rocket Series game because they have a lot of history playing each other. But their tickets have just skyrocketed in San Francisco.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's just too much. Yeah, it's too much. I mean, I can do it, but I can't logically justify that. So it's not going to happen. I think Golden State wins in 6. With all that being said. I
Really?
think Golden State wins in 6.
Okay.
I don't trust the inefficient shooting of Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green. I think they're just not ready yet. I love Ahmed Thompson. Ahmed Thompson has, to me, he's the best player on the team to me. Listen, I don't get caught up in the name on the back of the jersey or what ESPN says. I think Ahmed Thompson is the best player on the Houston Rockets. And people call me crazy for saying that, but that's just my opinion. But I got Golden State in 5 or 6, more like 6. I just think that Draymond can push Şagun out further enough from the paint to make him inefficient. He'll get his points on occasions. You got Jimmy Butler. And, of course, you got that guy named Steph Curry who's been there and done that. And so I think the experience factor is going to play a role. There's going to be 6 tough games, of course. But when it's all said and done, even if it's a game 7, and they got to go to the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas, we've seen Steph drop 50 points in Sacramento at the Golden One Center you know, a couple years ago in a Game 7. So
Yep.
I don't think that atmosphere is going to be too much, you know, for Jimmy, Draymond, or Steph to get done. But other than that, man, I'll leave you with that. Like always, enjoy the show. And yeah, man, the Kings are searching, and you know, we'll see what happens. You know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you,
Yes,
brother.
sir.
We
Thank
still
you,
need
buddy.
to do Bennett's, by the way.
We
Have
will.
fun in
Man.
Vegas.
We keep saying it, man, but
I
trust me,
know.
we will. We will. I promise you, man. We will.
What you got any good eating lined up while you're out there?
Yeah, in Vegas, there's a place that we want to try called the Heart Attack Grill. I've seen it. You ever heard that before?
Oh, yeah. They're
Like the
gonna
baked
put you
burgers,
in. Yeah, they put you in
and
like
the
a
nurses,
hospital
yeah, and then
gown
they
if
whoop
you
you,
want.
and then they whoop you.
Oh, they whoop you.
Yeah, the
Oh,
nurses
shoot. Okay.
whoop you. So we'd probably try that. There's a couple barbecue spots off in the cuts, off the strip, and that's it, man. You know what I'm saying? Well, Nacho Daddy
Okay.
is a good one, and so we'll check it out, man, and see what's going on. But yeah, man, so it'll be a good trip.
Check out Hell's Kitchen if you get a chance too.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Yep, we'll do, man. Okay,
All
thank
right,
you, Rhino.
cool. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Have a safe trip.
All
The point I was going to make, now that I remembered it, is what Moss was saying about the dribble handoff. Completely spot on. But I wonder, as this new GM, Scott Perry, comes in, and if Domantas Sabonis says, I want out, I wonder if the Kings have hurt his value. I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out really quick. I asked that question because the Kings tried to run so much offense through him that it's really shown. And while nobody is Jokic, I get that, it's put even to me a bigger separation between what Sabonis and Jokic do. They're similar when it comes to the way they play with their teammates, but Sabonis ain't shooting the three ball like Jokic does. He's a great passer. He's not seeing the floor like Jokic does. You can run your entire offense through Jokic. The NBA has not found a way to stop it. That's why they've won a championship, multiple-time MVP. The NBA's found a way to stop it with Sabonis. So is it a Sabonis thing, or is it a lack of having guys around Sabonis? So he did, but he's still not at that level. Dennis, how many attempts did he average a game? Like 3.5? Just saying. Cody, Sabonis value is low. Okay, I'm acknowledging your comment.
Acknowledge me.
What's the Roman Reigns breaking news that I need to know? Rhino, breaking news, Roman Reigns. What happened? You guys are all saying Roman Reigns. Something happened with Roman? I do know this. I'm looking at a video right now where if you go to the WWE world or whatever it is in Vegas, you can hit a dummy Logan Paul with a chair, and it measures how hard your chair shot was on Logan Paul. Too bad you couldn't get one of those as Haunted Horse. I would buy one today. All right, back to the phones. Kazi, what's up, dude?
Hey, Ryan, so I got an analogy for you. So, all right. So, you know when you, like, get together with, like, friends and family, right? And probably it's the best thing to do when you get together with a group of people. All these personalities probably mesh similarly.
Yeah.
All right. So what the Kings roster is like, it's like you invited, like, say you got people like family that's a bunch of farmers. Say you got people who are like big city people. Say you got people who are like super like shy. And say you got people who are like super extroverted, like, you know, club like scene. And you take all those personalities and mesh them into like one big party, right? You're probably not gonna like necessarily. They're probably all not going to mesh the best, right? So that's what this Kings roster is literally like. You got.
I agree.
You got all these different personalities, which, I mean, maybe in a professional basketball team, different personalities is not necessarily a bad thing as long as it's like not drastic. but I mean play styles. I'm specifically referring to play styles. So it's like, and you're expecting an intern coach, Doug Christie. Yes, he played basketball for what, 12, 15 seasons? Yes, he's been on the Kings sideline coach for what, 5 years now? But the thing is like, why are you throwing him all these different play styles of players with a coach that's never been a head coach before? Now, if Mike Brown had this exact same crew, I could guarantee you they probably maybe would have went on to win 4 or 5 more games.
Why do you say that?
Because Mike Brown has the resume. He's been coaching for 25 years. He's coached all different types of different personalities, different combinations of players. I feel like he would have been able to mesh the right crew with one another. Help utilize Valanciunas the best with different players. I feel like maybe he would have tried Valanciunas and Sabonis together, which I remember Baki. Hey, Baki, shout out to you if you're watching. I don't know I know Baki said that never worked over there, but that was just a different coach. So I feel like if you had a more seasoned coach, it probably could have worked better.
We'll never know. Mike Brown didn't get that chance, but I know Mike Brown's making a lot of money to do what he wants right now.
Right. Right. How great would it be to get paid millions of dollars just to sit on your couch?
I mean, it depends on your personality. If you're somebody that's got to be doing something all the time, I guess if you're traveling, that's cool. But I don't know. I think I'd get bored. I would still want to do something.
Yeah, not gonna lie. And as far as
I was gonna say, Kazi, we have to remember this too, really quick about Mike Brown. We can't discount this. He had a G League bench for most of the time he coached this season. He literally had closer to a high-level G League bench than he had an NBA bench. So his ingredients weren't that great either. Now, maybe I think Mr. Moss put it perfectly. You had 3 main dishes and you had no sides to go with it. How he would have handled that differently, I don't know. But Mike Brown did. I give Mike Brown the credit here. He made the adjustment that a lot of us were calling for. And it wasn't so much about Malik Monk going into the starting lineup. It was more about centering the offense around the pick and roll and not the dribble handoff. And when Malik Monk went into the starting lineup, that's why the Kings were so successful, because it was around the pick and roll. And by the way, that's why the Kings were so successful when De'Aaron Fox wasn't playing, because it worked. It was balanced. This whole thing was not balanced at all. The end of the season. But you do have, Kazi, you've got some good pieces. If you didn't have Zach LaVine on this roster and you didn't have to deal with that mess of a contract, you're probably, this is me, I'm extending Murray. I want to see what Murray can do as my featured forward. That's what I'm doing. I'm extending Ellis. That's a good piece that can fit with pretty much anybody. You're stuck with Carter for a little bit. Sabonis stays. Monk stays. Well, maybe Sabonis goes and you keep Valanciunas, depending on the value you can get for Sabonis. What I'm saying is you go more towards a rebuild as opposed to being stuck in basketball purgatory, which if Zach LaVine continues to play basketball games like he did this year, which credit to him for staying healthy, the Kings are probably going to be right around where they were this year, right around where the Trailblazers were, where it's going to be low lottery, possible play-in, and you're stuck. So the one guy that I think is probably gone, if I'm looking at one name that's going to get moved or could get moved around draft time, if you want to try to get back into the draft, it's DeMar DeRozan. I'm looking at a team because right now is the time that your Houstons, your Oklahoma Cities, your New York Knicks, it's when those teams are evaluating whether they have enough to get over the top, and then they double down on that evaluation depending on what happens in the postseason. So if OKC gets bounced out early or they don't win the championship, Hell, I'm picking up the phone. You'd be negligent if you're Sacramento's GM not to pick up the phone and say, hey, DeRozan wants to play in the playoffs. He wants to have a chance at a championship.
Wait, how does DeRozan? Wait, is it maybe you're just giving like a hypothetical example? Like, I don't see DeRozan really fitting in with OKC though, or do you?
As a six man, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, 6 man, yes, but who knows if you take it? But yeah, hypothetically, yeah.
For a team like that, I bet DeMar would be willing to come off the bench as a 6 man. So you're looking to pick out the spots, right? Where you can get some draft capital back and you can also set this team back to balance. So I would be paying attention to the high-level teams that underachieved this year in the playoffs and calling them up if they have draft capital and they might be looking to get that piece to go over the top. Kazi, appreciate you, brother. Thank you. My man, Roy. What's up, dude? What's up, Roy? I don't know anything about the NBA, but Doug Christie reminds me of when the 49ers were forced to promote Mike Singletary as interim head coach. And it didn't and never does work out for the long term. It's a good comp. It's a good comp, Roy. Good to see you, Roy. You know who's a winner? Roy is a winner. Mike Singletary wouldn't be saying this about Roy.
Cannot win with him. Cannot coach with him.
You
can't do it.
You can win with Roy. I love Roy. What's up, dude? I hope you and your mom are doing well. All right, let's bring in Patrick on this conversation because Patrick is very familiar with what's going on the East Coast and will know much more about Scott Perry because he is a Knicks fan in Long Island. What's up, Patrick? Thanks for calling and making the time. Appreciate you.
Yeah, listen, I can't speak to the Kings situation. I can't speak about the McNair situation, but I could make a few comments on Perry.
Please, floor's yours.
Okay. Number one, when Perry was brought over to the Knicks, it was right after they let go of Phil Jackson. And there was another guy running the team. His name was Steve Mills. He was sort of like the owner, Dolan. He was sort of like his flunky. And he ran the team, and Perry assisted him. And the biggest thing going on at that time was Porzingis. He was like insulted, and he didn't play for like the whole year. And I remember Perry and Mills sending the coach at the time, David Fisdale, over to Europe to try to get Porzingis to stay. Well, long story short, Porzingis never stayed. And eventually, the Knicks let go of Steve Mills. So you think Perry would have been running the team at that time. He wasn't running the team. They brought in Leon Rose. And I think Leon Rose is more responsible for the Knicks turnaround than anything that Perry had to do with it. Now, I'm not there. I'm not in the owner's room or anything like that. But it's generally known that Leon Rose gets most of the credit for bringing in the players for the Knicks because he worked for a sports agency, and his son stayed with that agency, and they would get like a lot of players from like Kentucky and Villanova to join the Knicks.
So more or less, he was Dolan's lackey.
I don't know if Perry was Dolan's lackey. The guy he worked with, Steve Mills, is more of Dolan's lackey. But it just seems like Perry was around during the when the Knicks were going downhill with Steve Mills, and then when the Knicks were going back up with Leon Rose, he was with Leon Rose.
Got it.
But I think it was more Rose's connections than Perry had anything to do with bringing in the people.
Did you hear his name much when he was with the Knicks, or was it just really one of those quiet members of the front office?
He was one of those quiet members of the front office. Now, I got to be honest with you. When I was reading up on him today, they said he was still working with the Knicks until 2023, and they just let him go. They didn't fire him. They just didn't renew his contract. I didn't even know he was still working for the Knicks in 2023. I thought he was done by 2021.
That's all right.
to be honest
All
with
right,
you.
that gives us a lot of context. What were the years like for Knicks for the Knicks basketball? Like, what was the goal of those years when he was there? Was it to
Just to be,
rebuild? Was it to try to make the playoffs? What was it?
it was trying to rebuild. He was there during the period where Durant ended up going to Brooklyn,
Okay.
and that whole team formed over there. He was part of that. Perry, he was there, and you know, I wish it was like a smoking gun. I could say, oh, Perry did this, Perry did that, but you really didn't read much about him. It was more Leon Rose building up the team. Now maybe Perry did stuff in
Sure.
the behind the scenes. I mean, we'll never know, but when he left, I mean, believe me, when he left, nobody noticed he
Yeah,
left.
no, I hear
You know
you.
what I'm saying?
It wasn't like, oh
So,
man, the front office took a hit. Yeah, it was more of a silent end. I got
yeah.
you. Okay. All right. Well,
I just think it's funny that he gets hired right away, like right after the game's over. Last night for the Kings. I mean, I just thought that was sort of
very
weird.
interesting.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm with you.
it's not like the Grizzlies let go of that coach or like Malone being let go late at the end of the season, but it's very similar, I think, in that context.
Well, I guess, and you bring up a great point. The Kings completely, whether you agree with Mike Brown being fired or not, I think we can all agree that the Kings went about it the wrong way. They handled it terribly. You let the guy coach practice.
Oh, yeah.
You let him talk to the media. You let him get in his car to drive to the airport, to go on the road trip. And right when you're on the tarmac, hey, coach, you're not the coach anymore. Click. And then the plane has to wait because they don't know who's going to be the interim coach. So that goes around, and the Kings got killed for it. I killed the Kings for it. A lot of other local personalities killed the Kings for it. And now you have this situation that you're talking about because Sean Cunningham was reporting the Perry stuff this morning. I mean, that stuff doesn't happen. You're right, Patrick. There was a ball rolling. Let's put it that way. It's not far-fetched to think that this was as soon as the game was over, that it was told, here's your next GM. So
if I was in fantasy land, I like to think that the Kings were losing by 25 last night. And they're like, oh, let's just call this guy Perry to come over,
Yeah, right.
Why not? You just have to be on the other end of the
exactly.
phone.
Hey, Patrick, thanks for taking the time, brother. How's everything going out in Long Island?
Oh, it's going terrific. It's going terrific. I'm off for a couple of days. That's why I'm getting to call you early. So,
well, enjoy your days off, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, my friend.
Yes.
Always a pleasure.
Indeed.
Thank
you, Pat. I love talking to Patrick. Love talking to Patrick. Okay, I saw the Roman Reigns news. Really, y'all? This is a no politics show. No politics. All right, we're going to get ready to wrap up here in a few minutes. Anything else that you want to address? Anything else that you want to talk about before we wrap it up? And remember, I have not said this, Grant's going to be back tonight at 8 o'clock. Make sure you join him for his open forum show. He'll be hitting many of these same topics. Also, if you want to talk baseball, NFL, anything, NIL, a lot going on in that area. He is here for it. And who knows, we might have additional news by the time that Grant is on the air. So make sure you join him at 8 o'clock right here on the channel if you don't like that. We always stream to the X platform, but make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe on YouTube. Thank you very much for those that already have. That is where the entire library of our channels at every pregame, postgame, halftime show, Kings Court, including also the specials that we've done, the interviews that Grant has had with Scott Pollard, Ian Eagle, many of those names that you will recognize. Damon Bruce has been on with me a couple of times here on the channel. So you can go find all of that right there. You'll know when we go live. Give us a big thumbs up, a like, a retweet. Really helps build the channel out for us, and we are very appreciative of it. And one other place we are extremely appreciative of, that is Bennett's West Side Grill, Bennett's Restaurant, all in general. 3 locations: Sacramento, Roseville, Rockland. Well, how in Fair Oaks? Roseville, Rockland. West Side Grill is the newest. It is in Rockland, serving up prime cuts of seafood and steak. And if you like to get a good deal, go check out Bennett'sRestaurants.com and see all the different specials they offer on any given day and throughout each week. Our family's favorite is the weekend brunch, 11 to 2 p.m. Every weekend, all 3 locations. It's a beautiful time to go sit on the patios in Roseville and Rockland. Have brunch. You can get a bottle of champagne and 2 entrees for under $60. You've got happy hour 2 to 6 every single day. And on top of that, other seasonal specials, lunch specials. What I'm saying, get over to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You can make your reservations. Probably a little too late for Easter, but not too late for Mother's Day. You got to have that one. If you do not have a Mother's Day reservation, your mama ain't going to be happy. You got to get that reservation. So go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com, lock it up. You can also buy gift cards. You can put in your to-go orders directly right there as well. And thank you to everybody that's been out there and giving us feedback and giving Brian feedback. We so appreciate it, and we appreciate Brian, Margot, and the staff there. So when you go out there, let them know that you heard about them on the channel, and vice versa. Let us know, because we pass it along to Brian. Shoot us a picture of your food, whatever it may be. We'll retweet it and pass it along. I know Matt was out there this last Sunday. So thanks to him, and thanks to Bennett'sRestaurants.com for picking us up and sponsoring the Kings Court today. Got to make that mama happy. Yeah. You know, if you don't make that mama happy, your mama's going to pull out a mic, your dad's going to get a keyboard, and they're just going to start doing this on Mother's Day.
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit.
Should have taken me to Bennett's.
Taste the butter spread. Taste the goodness of the biscuit with the butter spread.
Rhino, you joining Grant tonight? No. I'm not going to join Grant tonight. It has been the last, as you know, the post-game show was longer than normal, which is fine. We stayed for all your calls. We would have stayed later, but that was just the start of the night. Talking to people after that, a lot of news, a lot of stuff going around. So I did not get to bed till about 3:30 in the morning. So I'm going to let Grant handle it on his own. Yes. Okay. You're out of the penalty box. Get the redfish. It is extremely good. It's blackened with a side of spinach and grilled lemon. So good. It's not actually red though, like Grant's hair. It's blackened. It's really good. Let's see. Damon is the man. I love Damon. Damon has done a great job of building his channel out since leaving the station. I love what Damon's doing. And anytime the Kings and the Warriors get together, we usually try to get together once a season to talk about the 2 teams. G League talk needs to be banned. Well, you don't have to watch the show when we talk G League. You know, I appreciate you, Doge, but yeah, we're going to talk some G League. And by the way, the G League is so important to what the Kings are going to be doing here in the next few years, because you've got to draft and develop talent. That's where it happens. So you don't have, in fact, with this new CBA, expect the free agency periods to be leaner. Expect the trades to be bigger during the trade deadlines. I think this was just the tip of the iceberg this last year. And hey, keep an eye on what's going to happen in Phoenix. Matt Ishbia has already said they are going to shake things up. And dude does usually shake things up. Remember, he brought in Durant when nobody knew that was going to be coming. He had just become the owner. He paid $163 million of luxury tax. I believe it was over that for a team that did not make the playoffs. And now you have a disgruntled Bradley Beal with a no trade clause. Where do you go from there? I don't know. Maybe you can. Could we get Levine out of here for Booker? I would be okay with that. Who knows? Guy's crazy. What are your thoughts on DeMar saying him and Keegan plan to work out in the summer? Does this mean anything for DeMar's future with the Kings in that he is still invested in our guys to stay? I think it's great. That had been De'Aaron Fox the last couple of summers that Keegan had spent a lot of his time with. I think DeMar DeRozan is the absolute perfect person for Keegan to be with. It's the fact that, and these guys form relationships regardless of, you see it all the time. When teams get together, they're hugging, they're loving on each other before the game. These guys are all in it together. They're a big brotherhood. So even if DeMar wasn't with the team, it's very likely they still may work out together because of a bond they built. Jay Crowder this season was great about working with IJ and working with IC a lot and kind of giving them a little bit of seasoning as rookies. So I think it's awesome. I'm all for it. And it just speaks to DeMar he's the classiest of the classiest. He is a top 1%er, both as a person and a basketball player. So nothing but respect for him. And really one of the first athletes that came out openly in the social media era talking about mental health. If you didn't go check out DeMar's book that came out right before the season started, you should. It is an incredible read. It chronicles his battles, his continuing battle with depression, and it really opened up a lot of doors for other athletes to begin being more forward about it. And now it's to the point where teams have psychologists that are sports psychologists that are meeting with these guys, and it's how it should be. It wasn't always that way. Remember back in the 70s, the 80s, that kind of stuff was looked down upon. It was a weakness, right? Now it's kind of a strength if you have the power to come forward and talk about that. So I love anybody that's willing to share a story. And I do know this about DeMar. He keeps a close group around him, and it's a good group of dudes. One of my college roommates, Brandon Heath, I know he is part of DeMar's crew. They went to high school together. They grew up in the same city, and they're just very, very good people, dedicated their lives to the game of basketball, and those who also love basketball. So very cool stuff for that. Kings prescription. Why the F are we going backwards? Yeah, well, we're going to be talking a lot about that. Matthew, you played at Oak Hill? Like where Melo played? Oak Hill Academy? Picks or it didn't happen, my man. Picks or it didn't happen. Oak Hill would smoke the Stockton Kings. Look at that. Going Uncle Rico here, Matthew. Don't do Uncle Rico stuff, man. Did you put on your Letterman jacket when you typed that comment out? Did you pull your championship ring out of the dresser? You know it's not too far. You're crazy. You're nuts. We're coming off the rails now. We are coming off the rails. Okay, we have not even begun to tip the iceberg on this season, debriefing off of it, the news that has been coming out. We've only listened to Malik Monk's exit interview. We're going to listen to all of them, digest them, and kind of see what's next for the Kings. If you're just joining us, I said at the start of the show, and I will repeat it because it's a question that's come up about Doug Christie. My feeling is that, and this is my opinion based off of what I have gathered, what I'm seeing, the decisions that are being made. This is strictly my opinion. It is not a report, but my opinion is it is more likely Doug Christie will be returning as the head coach of the Kings rather than not returning as the head coach. Now, if that's the case, you got to get an X's and O's guy right next to him. You have to. You got to get a tenured X's and O's guy next to him. Go get Terry Stotts. Go get, there's guys like that out there. You need to balance what Doug brings with the other side of basketball, which was not balanced out. This whole concept that Doug pushed when he became and I get it. Like, he wanted, let's be clear, Mike Brown, when we were towards the end of his tenure, Mike Brown's stuff, his sets, what was being thrown at the guys was a ton. It was way too complicated. It was too much. Doug Christie goes to the other side of things and he simplifies things. And the Kings look a little bit better, right? But then the simplification changes when you make trades and change the core of the team. It's much easier to simplify something when guys have been playing together for the amount of time that version of the Kings had up until the Fox trade. It's really, really hard to simplify things with a new group. You need more structure, and there just was not enough of it under Doug. Although he still had a winning record. So I give him that. So I think you need, instead of the approach that is, I would rather teach you to play basketball than teach you a play, you need to have some structure. And I think if you listen to some of these exit interviews coming out today, the most overwhelming thing is we need a point guard. And what that screams to me is we also need structure. Because what's a point guard supposed to do? That's the guy that is running the offense. That's the guy that is the stick that is stirring the drink. That's the creator. That's your quarterback on the court. You don't need a scoring point guard. You need a point guard that is good in the pick and roll. Like, if you could go get, and I know they don't grow on trees, a TJ McConnell would be an incredible fit for this team. I could go Peyton Pritchard. He's not going anywhere. He's in Boston. Incredible fit for this team. Josh Hart, that goes without saying. Austin Reeves. But that type of player, most importantly, like a TJ McConnell, that kind of guy could change a lot for this team. Just that small of a change could change a lot. First off, he's not that kind of guy. And second off, the NBA days have passed him. And I love IT as much as the next person. But the NBA days have probably passed him. And keep an eye on the development of some of these younger guys. The one in particular, Mason Jones. Mace.
Go Stockton!
He's working his tail off. But keep an eye on Dexter Dennis. Dexter Dennis is not a point guard, although he can bring the ball up if he needs to. Keep an eye on Dexter Dennis and what the Kings do this summer, if he's retained or not. I think Dexter Dennis would be a very, very smart player to bring into training camp. We'll see if the Kings feel the same way. So, all right, Grant is back, 8 o'clock tonight. We've covered a lot of territory. I appreciate you guys for showing up, and gals. I know this has been just as long of a 24 hours for all of you as it is for us. Look, again, I'm going to say what I said to start the show. It's not what you wanted, but it was necessary last night. The last thing you needed coming from last night and then possibly a win in Memphis and then playing in the playoffs is any type of rhetoric or belief that there is something here that the Kings are doing right now to build upon. Because there's not. It needs to be re-looked at. Now, is Scott Perry gonna put his touch on it? We will see. Time will tell. But that's a whole nother thing too. Would it have even mattered if you had a GM lined up that quick to where reports were coming out this morning? If reports are coming out this morning, then was it in place before then? We don't know. More details will come out on that, but it tells you the organization was already looking to make a big change. Yeah, they're not going to let go of him. Not a chance. Not a chance. They're going to let go of Ty Washington. They might. Well, I'm not going to say not a chance. They could. They could. He's fun to watch, but you see the difference. That's the difference when you come up. You saw him play for Phoenix in the last game versus what he did in the G League Finals. But Dexter Dennis, good defender, yeah. And I just love Dex. Dex is one of those glue guys. He's one of those, like Mr. Moss said. Dex is a rice pilaf to Keegan Murray's tri-tip, right? Like that's that kind of guy. So, all right, we are out of here. We are back tomorrow to wrap up the week. Also, we'll do a WrestleMania preview with Adam tomorrow on the Kings Court, 2 p.m. normal time. Before all that, Napes, 8 o'clock tonight, open forum. Make sure you come join him, get his thoughts on everything that has transpired today, what he thinks is going to happen with the Kings coaching situation, exit interviews, and whatever else you want to talk about. Again, this was so strong. If you're just joining us, this was from Around the Horn. The guy that won today's episode of Around the Horn, he used his FaceTime to go off on Vivek Ranadive. Check this out one more time.
Look, Vivek Ranadive, if it weren't for him, the Sacramento Kings would be the Seattle Supersonics right now. I think every Kings fan in Sacramento is grateful for that. But ever since he bought the team, it has been a series of blunders and faux pas. From interrupting film sessions to suggest the team cherry pick like his daughter's AAU squad to ostracizing his two best players. But I think it's more indentured servitude than... Whoa! He went back to the...
Indentured servitude instead of fandom. Wow. Incredible comment. Macho Man, how did we do on today's show? Was it a good show, Macho?
The cream of the crop. Nobody does it better.
Appreciate that, Macho. Love it. And that goes for all of you. Thank you for all the chats. Thank you for the calls. This channel is not a channel without all of you, and this show is only as good as you make it. So really appreciate your contributions today. As for me, I'm out. I'll see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. Grant, 8 p.m.
Feel good about yourself, Ryan. You're just a part of the King's Court.
I do feel good, Jim. Court is dismissed.